are onto the Q&A section of this section of the webinar. And I'd like to, so I see that we received some questions on the Q&A feature. And thank you for all the questions. I'd like to sort of incorporate all the questions that came to us in this Q&A session. But I'd like to first start with asking Mr. Masuda from the Ministry of the Environment, Japan, to sort of introduce or maybe walk us through the MOEJ initiative for decarbonized infrastructure. I think it has a lot of relevancy to JCM, and perhaps you can talk about some of the areas or sectors that the ministry think it's more valuable, important in terms of achieving decarbonizing infrastructure in the future. So if you could address that, please go ahead.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. That Minister of the Environment, Japan's decarbonizing infrastructure is led by our Minister Koizumi, as we announced in last June. And that is one of the basement of our current consideration for the new plan for global climate action plan that states a new target for JCM. So that initiative is not led by Japanese government itself, but led by our ministry. And that has been led those arguments for the JCM new target to be coming by next month, I think. And that initiative has been suggested some possible future areas to be invested by JCM, such as renewable energies, and also cold chains, and also waste infrastructure. However, I would like to mention two things, which is mentioned by Paulina-san on directory. One is CCS for coal-fired power plant, and also one is hydrogen. Those two projects have not been set by JCM so far in worldwide. However, I think Thailand has some possibility to be improved or introduced for those two new areas. And we are very much looking forward to hear any proposal for those two new areas in CCS and hydrogen. And our ministry is very much interested in to provide assistance and also make it real for the project of two areas in near future by 2030. Thank you. Is it enough for your question?
Yes, thank you very much. You very much answered my question. And with that, sort of relating to that, I'd like to welcome Paulina-san, who you just, Paulina-san, are you online? She has a few questions that for the Ministry of the Environment, Japan, that I'd like to see if she can come on and share her questions directly. But if she is unable to join us at the moment, perhaps, perhaps I can, Paulina-san,
thank you very much. That's all my question. I think that Masuda-san answered the question.
Okay, thank you. So with that, perhaps sort of taking a thread that Masuda-san from the Ministry of the Environment just shared with us, perhaps I can welcome back, just a moment. Perhaps I can welcome back Dr. Raktikan to sort of share with us more about the hydrogen and CCUS projects or plans that she shared during her presentation. Maybe she could perhaps elaborate a little bit more on that and tell us a little bit more about what are the plans that are under consideration in Thailand right now.
Right now, we don't have the project on CCS or hydrogen, but we hope that from the support of Japanese government, as you mentioned in the slide, and also Masuda-san mentioned, that maybe in the future, the government of Japan may support the JCM project on hydrogen or CCS. So we hope that we can have advanced low carbon technology like that in our country and support the greenhouse gas emission reduction in our country. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. And if you could stay online, I actually have, we have one more question for you, Dr. Raktikan. You mentioned Carbon Neutrality Network and Climate Action Innovators. There are two programs or networks that are ongoing in Thailand right now. I listened with great interest about that. I think there might be some opportunities for sort of some synergy between companies or organizations that are interested in doing JCM and the members of the Carbon Neutrality Network. So I was wondering if there are any activities or events that are planned for the members of Carbon Neutrality Network or Climate Action Innovators. Do you see any sort of a possibility for collaborations, or perhaps how Japanese companies or entities might reach out to them to sort of collaborate or sort of create synergy there?
For Thailand Carbon Neutral Network, we encourage companies and organizations to reduce their greenhouse gas emission. First by themselves, reduce by themselves, and if they cannot reduce by themselves, they can buy the carbon credit to offset their greenhouse gas emission. For the climate action leader organization, they have to have pathway to move to carbon neutrality or net zero greenhouse gas emission. But for climate innovator, they can, there are maybe some company that they reduce, they have much carbon credit, they reduce their greenhouse gas emission and also have excess carbon credit. So they can sell to other company to offset their greenhouse gas emission. For the activity, we don't set, they can implement or develop any kind of greenhouse gas emission reduction project, such as renewable energy or energy efficiency or waste management. Also include the carbon sink, such as reforestation project or afforestation project. They can implement all kinds of these activities and generate the carbon credit and use for offset or sell to other company.
Thank you very much for that answer. I think there's very interesting activities in Thailand happening right now. And perhaps we have time for one more question, since there was one question about hydrogen project under JCM. I think it was a question about, let me see, just quickly. Yes, there was a question. Someone asked, can you elaborate more on JCM criteria for H2 hydrogen application in transportation? So I'd like to take up on that question and ask Mr. Takahashi from Global Environment Center Foundation to quickly address that question. And you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Hydrogen is one of the areas we'd like to promote and accelerate. And this hydrogen is, as Kubo-san of GEC has already told that it needs a supply chain. And if it is wasted already as a byproduct of the chemical factory or plant, it can be directly used as a new fuel or energy. So in the area of transportation, it can also be used as a new resource of energy. And so about the transportation field, it can be the vehicle or the infrastructure. But one important point is to estimate the quantity of the reduction of carbon dioxide and track operation of the vehicle. So that is the point we need to be care for monitoring the reduction of greenhouse gas to track and quantitatively estimate the amount of the reduction of carbon dioxide. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I hope that answered some of the questions the audience had about hydrogen projects and so forth. And if you have additional questions that were not answered, you can always contact us, Global Environment Center Foundation, for clarification